Christopher and Dawn, and they've got what is making the pages of the papers today. Good morning to you, Dawn. Let's talk about the Daily Mail, page 4. Senior Conservatives yesterday urged Rishi Sunak to swallow his pride and get Boris Johnson back into the band.
Bring back Boris. This was a brilliant interview that our very own Camilla Tominey did with our Kwasi Kwarteng. And also Michael Gove said the same thing, that basically at the moment Boris Johnson's personality was what won 2019 with that red wall. OK, well, let's see what was said. Here we go.
If you want somebody's help, you should reach out to them.
Yes.
That's what you would do.
Yes.
If you were in a difficult spot and you wanted a friend to help you or somebody to help you, you would probably pick up the phone.
Well, he might not want to admit that he needs the help from his former nemesis.
There's all of that ego and nonsense. It's not time simply to more of the same.
No.
Something has to change for us to have a chance of winning. And if that means swallowing some pride and suppressing a bit of ego and reaching out to someone who's an approved campaigner, then he should do that.
He's not wrong, but at what price would you bring Boris Johnson back?
Well, this is the problem. I mean, but I think what has prompted this as well is we've got the by-elections coming up. There was a focus group carried out for the Wellingborough by-election, and it really pointed in the direction that the Tories need the help of Boris Johnson. Among the members of this focus group, all of whom back Tories under Boris Johnson, none of them back the Tories under Rishi Sunak. And it's interesting that despite all the problems that people seem to have with Boris, there is still this hardcore of Conservative voters who think he can do no wrong.
But to be fair to him, he is an election winner, isn't he?
But he has no grasp of detail. He's a self-publicist. Ukraine being the perfect example of that. He hasn't got a handle on detail. Northern Ireland being the perfect example of that. And I just would he want to come back?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, Boris is earning a lot of money at the moment. I mean, we know he's got his newspaper column in the Daily Mail. He's earning a lot of money. But there was this also curious story at the weekend, wasn't it? It's sort of like basically sources close to Boris Johnson saying all Rishi has to do is pick up the phone. That was the implication there.
But they do seem to be desperately hoping for someone to come into the fold, because in the Times this morning they're talking about our very own Nigel Farage and how he could join the Tories and really help them out.
Well, exactly. It's winning over the right side of the Conservative Party, the Red Wall vote, who voted in 2019 on the strength of the whole Brexit, Boris Johnson
Let's go to a potential voter and see what his views are on this. Could you see yourself voting for a Conservative government with Boris Johnson in it? Or Nigel Farage?
Oh, is this to me?
This is to you.
You are the would-be voter.
I thought you were talking to someone on the line. Right, I would prefer Nigel Farage.
Would you?
Yeah, I would, because I like Nigel. And the trouble is that all these politicians, they're all egotistical to a degree. And you don't know what they're thinking. Why do they want to be Prime Minister? I would think that anyone in their right mind would not want to be Prime Minister of any country at this particular moment. Because I think disaster is around the corner.
Even worse than it is now.
Even worse than it is now.
The thing is, that's what I think, actually. I mean, the by-election panels also have no love for Keir Starmer and Labour either.
No.
They are completely homeless voters.
Yeah.
And I think, going back to what you were saying, Eamonn, I think Rishi Sunak at least has an attention to detail and does do the detail, but he doesn't have the bluster and personality of Boris Johnson. What you need is some sort of weird offspring of the two.
A little hybrid.
You do. I mean,
Farage and Boris, that would be interesting.
Because at the end of the day, we do like to have a personality in that role.
People like personality in politics.
Yeah, they do. They do, because they feel they can, look at them and think, well, this is what I want.
Well, talking about personality, front page of the Times, front page of the Daily Telegraph, and front page of a few others as well. Nicole Scherzinger, who plays the part of Norma Desmond on the West End, Biggins.
And was absolutely superb.
You've seen it?
I saw it, yes. And she is wonderful, and I'm pleased to say she's going to go to America, where she'll become a big star in America. She is absolutely wonderful, and thankfully she won an award last night.
This is for Sunset Boulevard.
Yes, Sunset Boulevard, which the original production was fantastic, great show, very much a theatrical event with great sets. I remember now the huge staircase they had, which she walked down. This is simplistic beyond measure. There's nothing. There's no set. They are so clever with what they do on camera.
So what draws your attention if there's no set as such?
Well, because it's the most brilliant production, and starring this girl and a wonderful cast around her. I mean, it is fantastic. There's a scene at the beginning of Act 2, which I won't say because I wouldn't want to spoil it for anyone, but it is spectacular.
I saw and I heard on radio this morning a debate about the price of tickets for theatre productions in the West End, which can be 250 quid a time.
Yeah.
But Biggins, you would think worth paying for this?
Well, listen, it's very difficult for me to say because I'm very lucky to go to press nights where I don't pay.
Yes.
And I don't know whether I would pay £250. In fact, I know I wouldn't.
It is. I mean, with the last theatre show, we had very, very average seats. It was Dear England, which is brilliant, by the way.
Wonderful.
But that our seats were £95 each.
Still a lot.
By the time that was a very
100
basic.
quid plus a meal at 100
yeah,
quid.
absolutely.
And drinks in the interval.
It was just. I mean, I don't know how people can afford it. And,
No.
and I'm not going to mention how expensive football is now because I know where that's going to go. So I'm not going to do that. But football's expensive now as well, isn't it, Eamonn?
But it's not 250 quid.
No,
for your
I know.
seat or,
no, but it
or
can
anything.
be 90 quid. I mean, to go to West Ham and sit in a fairly good seat yesterday, that was another £90 for one seat.
It does alienate people, doesn't it, from the theatre and from culture, really. You just can't afford it.
No,
you can't
it
get
really
food on
does,
the table. You
yes.
certainly can't go to the
But
theatre.
who's going to see it then? Somebody's paying it.
Yeah, I was going to say, these shows are sold out. You can't get a seat for a lot. You couldn't get a seat for Sunset Boulevard, certainly, and they were completely sold out for the run.
Maybe they're a big tourism thing. Maybe if you're from China or whatever, you go to London and you have to see a production in the West End. Maybe
well, I suppose Plaza Suite, you see, which is on with two big American stars, that is been extended.
Yeah.
And the seats there are £300, I think, some of them, yes.
Unbelievable.
They're not all £300.
Well, do you know what? This leads us very nicely because in about half an hour's time we're going to have a debate about this. Has the theatre got too expensive? So don't miss that. Thank you very much, Dawn and Biggins. Really good to see you.
Pleasure.
You're back with us in the next hour. Do let us know what you think about that one. gbnews@gbnews.com. But first, let's get the weather update, shall we, with Jonathan Quantry.